Chapter 1.2, Solving Multi-Step Equations. When we're doing equations, we need to undo PEMDAS, which means we do the opposite of addition or subtraction of numbers first, and then we do the opposite of multiplication or division to get the variable by itself. Here's our first prompt. The height in feet of a tree after x years is 1.5x plus 15. After how many years is the tree 24 feet tall? The is in this case will become our equal sign. So we set up our equation. 1.5x plus 15 equals 24. First step is to undo any addition or subtraction. So here we have a plus 15, and we will do the opposite, which is subtracting 15. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. So now we have 1.5x equals 9. We got rid of the 15. We simplify with division because the opposite of 1.5 times x is dividing by 1.5. What we do to one side, we do to the other. So our final answer, x equals 6. It will take 6 years for our tree to become 24 feet tall. Let's try another one. The height in inches of a plant after t days is 1.5 t, 1/2 t plus 6. After how many days is the plant 21 inches tall? So here's our equation, and this is what we would like it to equal. 1/2 t plus 6 equals 21. We draw our line. Step 1, the opposite of addition or subtraction. We have a minus 6 and a minus 6 on both sides to undo the positive 6. That goes away. We have 1/2 t left over, and 21 minus 6 is 15. Step 2, get rid of any multiplication or division. Here is a multiplication sign right there. So the opposite of multiplying by 1/2 is multiplying by 2. My multiplication sign won't stay. So 1/2 times 2 is 1, so I have t left over. 15 times 2 is 30. It will take 30 years for that plant to be 21 inches tall. So let's solve 8x minus 6x minus 25 equals negative 35. On your sheet with the process steps, first thing it says is distribute. We have no distribution, so we can skip step number 1. Second step is combine like terms. Do you see any families that we can get together? Well, we can write the equation, and then we can combine 8x minus 6x, and that becomes 2x. I've combined my like terms. Now I have no other combinations, so now I will go to my equation steps. Let's undo PEMDAS. Opposite of subtracting 25 is adding 25. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So now I have 2x equals negative 10. Well, I have a multiplication problem right here. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. What I do to one side, I do to the other. 2x divided by 2 is x. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So x equals negative 5. Let's try some equations. I think that probably the hardest one here is the third one, 1/2 x minus 9. So let's skip down to the third one. I have no distribution to do. I have no distribution. I have no combining like terms, but I do have a subtracting and a dividing. So let's first get rid of any addition or subtraction. The opposite of minus 9 is plus 9. What I do to one side, I do to the other. 1/2 x comes down by itself. Negative 25 plus 9, negative 16. Here's how to get rid of any multiplying or dividing. Opposite of multiplying by 1/2 is multiplying by 2. What I do to one side, I do to the other. X equals negative 32. Negative 16 times 2, negative 32. I want you to stop the tape and try these on your own, and then we'll see how well you did. Stop the tape now. All right, check yourself. How well did you do? Notice the green marks are where I got rid of my number and brought down what was left over. Check yourself, stop the tape, and check yourself. All right, let's try some more. These are a little bit more difficult. We have some distribution to do. So let's go ahead and do the first one. I need to distribute. So I will arrow and I will arrow. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. What connected them? The subtraction sign, so I'll bring that down. I didn't do anything to the 4. I didn't do anything to the negative 8, so they all come straight down. Do I have anything to combine? Well, I have the number plus 4 and the number 2. In your calculator, 2 plus 4 is 6. Bring down what I haven't done anything to the negative 10x, my equals, and my negative 8. Now I'm going to get rid of any adding or subtracting, not with that variable, but with just the number. Opposite of 6 is negative 6. What I do to one side, I do to the other. He goes away. That was my point, to get rid of that. So negative 10x equals negative 14. Now I need to get rid of any multiplication or division. This is a multiplication problem, so the opposite of multiplying by 10, negative 10, is dividing by negative 10. Make sure you take that negative sign with you to get rid of it. That goes away. We have x equals 1.4, and dividing by a negative, I get a positive number. All right, let's try one more of these. Kind of difficult. Let's look at negative 3 times the quantity, x plus 2. I have to distribute to get them out of the parentheses. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. So I'm going to go ahead and just not even put that plus sign because I know this is now subtraction. Didn't do anything to my 5x, didn't do anything to my equals or my negative 9. So now I get to combine. Do we have anything that is same family? Well, I see a negative 3x and a positive 5x. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2x. Bring down my negative 6, or subtracting 6 means the same, and my minus 9. Now I'm going to get rid of any adding or subtracting. Opposite of negative 6 is a positive 6. What I do to one side, I do to the other. That goes away. I get 2x equals negative 3. Opposite of multiplying or dividing. Divide by 2, divide by 2. I now have x equals negative 1.5. Remember, use your calculator on these when you do them by yourself. Speaking of that, you get the last two all by yourself. Pause and try them. All right, here's the other two answers. Look how I distributed. I combined my like terms, subtracted, divided, combined my like terms, subtracted, divided. All right, let's use a table to find the number of miles, which is x, you need to run on Friday, so that the mean number. So let's write our equation using a definition of mean. Mean is when you add all your data and then divide by the number of data points you have. So here's my data, 2 plus 0 plus 1.5 plus 0. I got that from my table. And then I have an unknown. I have my x. Since there are 5 data points, I'm dividing by 5. So I'm going to combine my like terms. We did not have to distribute anything, so we got to skip that step. And now we're combining, and we got 3.5 plus x divided by 5 is 1.5. The opposite of division, we were dividing here, is multiplying. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So 3.5 plus x is 7.5. Now I need to do the opposite of adding or subtracting. I subtract 3.5 from both sides, and my final answer, x equals 4. So to have a mean of 1.5 miles per day, my last day I have to jog 4 miles. So let's try some more. You have scored 7, 10, 8, and 9 on 4 quizzes. Write and solve an equation to find the score you need on the 5th quiz so that your mean score is 8. Well, here's my equation. I took all my data points plus my unknown, my 5th quiz, and I want to receive an 8. So I have 5 quizzes I'll be taking. I'll divide it by 5. I need to combine my like terms now. That's step 2. I'm combining all my data points, add it up to 34, but I still have that unknown. I had 5 quizzes, so I'm still dividing by 5. Well, the opposite of dividing by 5 is multiplying by 5. That's my big old multiplication sign right there. So when I do to one side, I do to the other. Those go away. I multiply, and 34 plus x is going to equal 40. So let's see. My next step is to add or subtract to get my variable by itself. The opposite of adding 34 is subtracting 34. So x is going to equal 6. I need to score 6 to get a mean score of 8. And our last one. You scored 88, 92, and 87 on 3 tests. Write and solve an equation to find the score you need on the 4th test so that your mean test score is 90. You want to get an A in this class. So pause the tape, and I want you to try and set up your own equation. And solve. This is the end.